and welcome to the YYC Soccer Podcast. My name is Jason Kmet, and my co-host is Scott Stresser. Hey, Scott.
Hello, Jason. How's it going?
Pretty good tonight. Just, back to Thursday night here. We're recording only a few days after the last one, so it's. I don't mind the frequency so far. I'm ready to go for another one.
Yeah, I know that obviously you edit these episodes, so I think you could probably appreciate having to edit a shorter episode twice a week is probably easier than the 40-minute plus conversations we've had previously on Thursday nights. Hopefully we'll keep it a little less than that this time.
Yeah, sounds good. If you are a new listener to our podcast, though, Scott, what is the YYC Soccer Podcast all about?
We talk about soccer in Calgary at the professional, post-secondary, and amateur levels. We discuss the city's two professional teams, those being Cavalry FC on the men's side and the Calgary Wild on the women's side, as well as League One Alberta teams from Calgary in the spring and early summer, and the post-secondary teams in the fall. But we also talk about grassroots and amateur leagues and teams and issues related to soccer in Calgary, whether that's men's, women's, or even youth and CMSA. So we just run the whole gamut on Calgary soccer, try to cover a wide net.
And this week, our topics are going to include, finally, the Calgary Wild are going to have their home opener on Sunday. And we'll talk about Cavalry FC. They're playing in Halifax on Saturday. There was some League One action on Monday. We'll talk about that real briefly. And there's a couple matches on Friday evening. And we have an interview this week. Scott, who's our interview with?
We chatted with Kahli Johnson, who is a striker for the Calgary Wild. She has 2 goals for the team so far in the opening 3 matches. Both of those came against Halifax. She's Australian. And as we've talked about before, she played in the Women's A-League in Australia and was banging in the goals before her move to Canada. So we caught up with her and talked about her first few months in Canada and what it's been like to play for the Wild and how excited she is, as well as her teammates, to, as you mentioned, finally play a home game after 3 games on the road.
Yeah, it was good conversation, and we'll get to it here. We're going to start off right now with Calgary Wild.
Hi, this is Kahli Johnson, and this is the YYC Soccer Podcast.
So, Jason, before we recorded, we both kind of admitted to each other that we don't know much about the Ottawa Rapid, who will be the Wild's opponent on Sunday when they take to the pitch at McMahon Stadium. Big Mother's Day tilt, 5 p.m. kickoff. Game's going to be on TSN. 5,500 tickets were sold as of Wednesday, but I think by the time we get to match day, a lot more than that will be in the stands. What are you anticipating? Because as I mentioned, we haven't really watched much of Ottawa, although it is notable that the Rapid and the Wild are tied for points at the moment.
You know, Desiree Scott is on the team, and in some pre-match research you did that I think she's only played 1 match so far, but she's a recognizable name. But the only thing I can really get out of things right now is that Montreal seems like they've been the class of the league so far, but everybody else is kind of sort of at that next level. And I'd say right now, Ottawa and Calgary are sort of both at that level. So should promise to be an interesting match on that basis, I would think.
Yeah, we could look at, Ottawa and Calgary have both played Toronto, although Ottawa beat Toronto 2-1. They were the home team in that game, however, so they had that advantage. And then in Calgary's case, they lost to Toronto by that same scoreline, but that was in Toronto, and it was at the tail end of Calgary's week-plus long road trip. So really hard to gauge who the favorites will be, but of course, Calgary will be backed by their home fans, which will be a big boost after they've kind of had the opposite environment to start the season. But yeah, like as you mentioned, Desiree Scott is the name for the Rapid that I think most fans will recognize. Canadian soccer legend, and it's kind of neat. She actually started her career back in Calgary way back in 2004, more than 20 years ago. So it'll be cool to see her play on Sunday.
And as you mentioned earlier, we did an interview with Kahli Johnson earlier today, and She talked a little bit about what it's going to be like to be in front of the home fans after a long road trip. So, yeah, I think the team is definitely looking forward to it.
Yeah, I know the team trained on McMahon Stadium a couple of times this week. There was an open invitation to media to attend one of the sessions and conduct some interviews, which I know quite a few media outlets were at to help preview this upcoming game on Sunday. And I know that the day that this episode is being released, Friday, the Wild will be doing something at a school in Forest Lawn, which is a pretty cool story. Sarah Kelty Dilling, who's one of the Wild's goalkeepers, used to be a phys ed teacher at this school. So the team is going to do a bit of a meet and greet at the school, and they're going to launch a program that I think allows students from that school to attend games or something along those lines. And then the players are actually going to stick around to watch the school's soccer teams play, or I think it's their boys team will have a game after school. So the Wild are going to be there for that. And then I think they're going to see their change room set up. So yeah, really exciting time for the Wild, and it all kicks off on Sunday.
Mm-hmm. And I think this is probably as good a time as any to run our interview with Kahli Johnson. So we'll run that now.
I'd like to welcome Kahli Johnson to the podcast. Kahli is a striker for the Calgary Wild, who will be playing their first home game of the season this weekend. Kahli, thanks for coming on the podcast.
Thanks for having me.
So it's been quite a long road trip to start the season for the Wild. You guys have played 3 games on the road in a row. So how does it feel to finally get to play a home match? I noticed that finally got to train on McMahon a few days ago.
Yeah, I think being able to play in 2 different teams' home openers was a pretty cool experience. Obviously, they really tried to get a lot of people out there, and it was pretty cool to see. But I think while those were cool games to play in, it was definitely very exciting to have the thought of playing against our own home crowd and kind of have those big crowds cheering for you. So yeah, definitely really excited to see what kind of crowds come out on Sunday. And yeah, getting to train on McMahon and kind of see the stadium and be on the pitch for the first time was a really cool feeling, and I think it just brought a lot of excitement to the group.
Can we talk a bit about your background, your playing career? Like, we know you're from Australia, but just if you could just sort of walk us through sort of, your history, like of career so far.
My first professional team was Sydney FC, so I played there for a year for I think it was 2022 season. So yeah, so I played there and kind of got my professional debut, and then decided to move to Western United in Melbourne and was there for the last 3 seasons and had a really good time there. Developed a lot as a person and a player, which was really cool. And then decided that I really wanted to get overseas and experience football outside of Australia a bit more. So then was able to transfer to Calgary Wild a few months ago.
I think you played with Jacqueline Sawitsky at Western United. Is that true? Yeah.
Yes.
So, I mean, how much did you 2 talk, and what was it like to reunite with her at the Wild?
Yeah, that was a pretty crazy coincidence. I think when I realized it was the same team reaching out that Jackie had signed for. So yeah, definitely reached out to her and messaged a little bit while was kind of thinking about the move, and just asking her about the league and about the team and that sort of thing. And it was a lot of positive things. So it kind of helped the decision for where I was going to go. I think it was kind of funny. Obviously, when we were both at Western, it was an inaugural season for that team. And now we're doing another inaugural season together. So it's kind of crazy how those things work out. But she's a really great person and someone I definitely look up to and, where she's played in her career. So yeah, definitely someone I respect a lot. And having her on as a teammate again is pretty cool.
So I know it's really early days. You've only played, a few matches here in Canada so far in this new league, but, what are your impressions so far in regards to style of play and level, and how does it compare to the A-League?
Yeah, I think it's a very exciting league. I think it's definitely something that's well overdue. I think when you kind of hear the girls who are from here talk about it. It's definitely something that could have been done, a few years ago, but it's definitely exciting that it's finally happening. And I think you can see that in the level of kind of players that are in the league. There's some really high caliber players, playing, and I think that's really cool to see because it ups the level of the play for sure. I think it's kind of a mix of physicality, but equally really wanting to play football and having a playing style, which is great. That's I think it's my favorite style like of games to play is when you want to tactically beat a team. So I'm really enjoying playing here and really enjoying playing with my teammates at the moment.
This is kind of a sub question, but I wanted to ask about playing on artificial turf. I'm not sure if you did that much in Australia, but I imagine it's a more common thing here.
Yeah, I think with the weather, which is what I'm assuming the artificial turf is for a bit more. I did it a bit in youth football, so it's definitely not something that's foreign to me. I've played a fair share of seasons and games on artificial turf. But yeah, I think I don't really have a problem with it. I think as long as you're not switching a lot between surfaces, I think that's when it can get a little bit tricky. But to be honest with you, I think it's what the league needs to be a thing, and yeah, that is what it is.
How do you rate how your season's been going so far? How would you rate your performance? You have opened your account.
Yeah, I think I'm just really coming in here to learn and grow from all my teammates and coaches. I think obviously it's a very new experience for me, and as a young player, I really just want to keep improving my game, and I'm really happy with how that's gone so far. And yeah, definitely, I think scoring a couple goals helps kind of the confidence and I think my job as a forward is to score goals and contribute to goals in the team. So I'm definitely happy that I've been able to do that so far. But to be honest, I think I'm just really excited to keep growing the relationships with my teammates and keep playing at a high standard.
What kind of targets have you set for yourself? Because I know you did score quite a few goals for Western United and were leading the charts in the A League before coming over. Do you have a similar like number of goals you want to score, or do you measure your contributions in a different kind of way?
I don't know if I have any like targets in terms of numbers. I think more so for me, it's just improving my game in certain ways and trying to get better at different aspects of the game. I think that'll just come from reviewing performances and working in training, and yeah, just like really working with my teammates to hopefully learn off them and see what ways they can help me out. So yeah, I wouldn't say necessarily I have a certain target for the season. I think it's more so just continuing to contribute within the team and hopefully get wins.
So this week, the opposition coming to Calgary is Ottawa. Any impressions of them so far about what to expect? Or I guess, there isn't the benefit of tons of game film yet so far, but I guess there's been a few matches. But any thoughts about Ottawa?
I think one of the things of this league is because there's so few teams, every team is strong. I don't think you can necessarily underestimate any opponent, even from not seeing them play a whole lot. I think from Ottawa's games, they've showed they're a very strong team and have a lot of threats. So I think, yeah, we're just going to have to work hard to play our own game and really just focus on how we can play football to win. Because I think we've showed really good glimpses of that in all three of our games. So I think if we can just really refine those details and have a really strong game in playing our own game, I think we'll be able to get the result.
Yeah, I looked at the table just now, and it's notable that three teams are still on 3 points, right? Like you can see the parity. Obviously, Montreal has jumped out to an early lead, but the rest of the teams are all kind of in the pack there in the middle. So I know it's still very early in the season, but has Wild talked about, I mean, where you would like to see yourself in the table toward the end of the campaign? I mean, obviously every team wants to win, but is that something that is already being talked about, or do you want to just take it game by game?
The goal of every team this year is going to be to win and to win a championship or win a title. I think that if we weren't looking to do that, we wouldn't be here. Equally, I think it's going to be a really close season. I think just by nature of playing, the same teams a number of times, you're going to really have to work for those wins and work for the points. So I think, yeah, just kind of capitalizing on taking 3 points every week is going to be really important. Yeah, I think if we can just keep playing good football, we'll be happy with our performances.
You're still in the very early stages of your career overall. What are some career goals? Like, where would you like to see yourself like in 5 years from now? Like, presumably still playing football, of course, but what kind of goals have you set for yourself, or what are your aspirations?
One of the best things about this sport is the opportunity to play anywhere in the world. Well, not anywhere, but in a lot of different places. And I think it's pretty cool that I've been able to come over to Canada and play over here so far. I think that was definitely a big tick on the list of things I wanted to do. To be honest, I just want to keep improving. I want to keep getting better, and hopefully that'll take me to different parts of the world. That's kind of my goal. I think growing up, there was a little bit of uncertainty as to whether this was actually a realistic career for me. Obviously, I think I came in at a really good time in terms of the growth of women's sport and women's football in particular. So I've been very lucky with that. But yeah, I think for me, just want to keep, improving my game, keep learning from people, and hopefully that'll take me to different parts of the world.
There's no shortage of Australians that come to Canada kind of around your age to, spend some time here. A lot of times they're here, working in Banff or something like that. And you get to be a professional footballer. That's kind of a little step up in a job wise, as opposed to the typical kind of setup. That's kind of cool.
Yeah, it's actually kind of funny. My older sister came to Banff. She was here for about 18 months to 2 years, about a year ago, working in Banff in the hotel there. So kind of funny that she was here, backpacking and working and exploring it. And then I came here to play football. It was another big coincidence in coming to Calgary, but a very cool moment.
That's a pretty cool story, Kahli. Thanks for telling us that. We always like to ask our guests if there's anything else they'd like to add, any kind of message to the fans or to family back home. Feel free to say whatever you'd like.
Yeah, I think I'm just really, really excited to, I guess, meet Calgary on Sunday. I think, as I said, it's been really cool kind of, seeing the crowds in Vancouver and Halifax and even Toronto and the support that they have for their team. So I really just can't wait to go out in front of that crowd and play and hopefully do them proud and get a win for them.
Thanks again to Kahli Johnson for coming on our podcast. Jason, before we segue onto different topics for the episode, let's just quickly mention that the Wild do have a new goalkeeper and assistant coach who just joined the club, I think last week. Tony O'Neill, English guy, and he's UEFA A licensed goalkeeping coach. And he and Lydia Bedford know each other from when she was at Leicester City.
He's had a long career both in men's soccer, women's soccer throughout England at various levels. So yeah, seems like a reasonable choice for a coach and stuff. And it's taken a little bit of time to flesh out the technical staff, but yeah, it's good to see another addition there.
And one other thing before moving on, you did point out that Michaela Moore earned the 3rd star in the Northern Super Leagues. Seems like they do this every week. 3 stars of the week. So despite the Wild losing to AFC Toronto, she was able to get on that list.
I'm going to pay attention to those all year, I think, and try and bring it up when a Wild player's on there.
Hi, this is Ali Musi, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
Scott, let's talk about Cavalry FC. And I guess the first bit of news since the last time we recorded and released an episode is we now know who they're going to play in the next round of the Canadian Championship.
Yeah, they're going to play Vancouver FC, who beat Pacific on penalties earlier this week. That was a pretty exciting win for them. So we'll see a repeat of an opponent that Cavalry beat in the Cup last year. First leg is going to be held in Langley at Willoughby Community Park. That's going to take place this month. And this is a 2-legged affair. So Spruce Meadows is going to host the second leg sometime in July, but we don't actually have dates or times yet. Those are going to be announced later. But yeah, this will be a pretty important tie because the winner of this will take on Vancouver Whitecaps in the semifinals. The opportunity to play what would be, I believe, their first ever game against Vancouver Whitecaps would be quite the, what's the expression, carrot at the end of the stick. I mean, that would be something that I think Vancouver FC would be itching for. Because I don't know if you've noticed the social media beef between these two Vancouver clubs, but it doesn't seem like they like each other that.
Yeah, I noticed a little bit about that. I actually haven't paid really close attention, but I have seen that there have been a few jabs back and forth. So, well, obviously it would be good for Vancouver FC because that would be a very buzzworthy game. It would be a huge deal for them. So it's going to be a little while yet till we know what how that matchup's going to go. But I would presume that match in Langley between the Cavalry and Vancouver is going to be in May. We're going to get an announcement about a date pretty soon, I would think. It's already May 8th day, isn't it?
Yeah, and so I imagine by the time we record next, we may know. So keep an ear out for that. In the meantime, Jason, we do have some league games to play, including a big one for Cavalry on Saturday afternoon.
Yeah, they're playing Halifax in Halifax. Yeah, this is going to be a tough one, I think.
Absolutely. Halifax is in pretty good form at the moment. They're in second place, I think, with 3 wins from 5 games. They are coming off a disappointing elimination in the Canadian Championship to Forge, which seems to be an annual tradition. But no, they're a team in form at the moment. Ryan Yesley, their goalkeeper, was named goalkeeper of the month in the CPL for April, and Patrice Geyser was named coach of the month. So them playing at home, it's obviously always a difficult, long road trip for Cavalry, and they're going to be tested against a team that is playing well at the moment.
For sure. I think it's going to be a real tough one to get a result in. Everything about this is a bit difficult with the travel and the Halifax in good form. So they're definitely going to be down some players, though. We know Bradley Camden-Fawo is going to be serving match in a suspension and a few injuries. I guess the newest one, and I put it on there on social media from yesterday, Michael Beldiasimo out for quite a long time by the sounds of things.
Yeah, we talked about his knee injury in our last episode. Very innocuous situation in the last game. He could be out for as long as, did Tommy Wilden Jr. say, like 6 to 8 weeks or potentially longer? So
he said 6 to 8 weeks is best case scenario. It could be 12 to 16 weeks, and he goes, we hope it's 6 to 8. So
yeah, an MCL sprain or partial tear or something along those lines.
He said it was a sprain, but he did not sound optimistic.
They should have a like-for-like replacement coming back. Jesse Daly, Tommy Wilden Jr. said, is likely to be in the 18, if not the starting 11.
Last bit of news we'll talk about for Cavalry is Shamit Shome made it official. He's going to play for the Bangladesh men's national team.
Yeah, and they have a game coming up not too long from now, and Shome will likely miss the June 8th game against York. As a result, Bangladesh is slated to play Singapore on June 9th. So that would be his debut for the Bangladeshi national team. It was interesting, Jason, because you did ask about this in the press conference, and Tommy Wilden Jr. had to admit that he wasn't really sure if this had gone ahead yet. But we had seen an article in a Bangladeshi newspaper about it. So, and then the next day, the club announces that FIFA has cleared him to play for Bangladesh. So I thought that was cool.
I guess that tells you how I spend my spare time reading Bangladeshi newspapers. But anyway, yeah. So this is the thing I think is really interesting is that it seems like this is really a big deal there. Like it's really making the news. Like it's not just, I don't know. I'm still trying to get a bit of a feel for the true scope of it, but it sounds like this is a significant story there. Anyway, it could be a cool experience. It's really a pretty long trip, but Cavalry is going to be pretty short for that June 9th game. Kaniji Alva will be playing for St. Lucia, and I think Mikhail Gerasimov will probably be playing for Moldova. Yeah, so it's they'll be down a few players, but hey, that's the nature of the beast.
This is Izzy Monk, and welcome to YYC Soccer Podcast.
Well, Scott, there was a matchup on Monday night in League One involving two Calgary-based teams, Blizzard playing Villains. And yeah, I guess this is sort of, Blizzard is the more established team and Villains is kind of new to the party here in League One Alberta. And the results on this one kind of showed that. On the men's side, Blizzard beat Villains 6-1. And then on the women's side, Blizzard beat Villains 4-1. I guess probably realistically speaking, it's going to be a learning curve for the Villains. They don't have tons of League One experience on their team.
No, and of course, Blizzard is an OG club when it comes to League One. And looking at the goal getters in this one, we see some familiar names. Joey Plenzik getting 2 goals. His brother Marco got a goal as well. And then on the women's side, Grace Moore, University of Calgary, coming off a really strong season with University of Calgary last year. She got 2 of Blizzard's goals in that 4-1 win. So they kind of showed Villains what it takes to play in League One Alberta, you could say.
Mm-hmm. And Blizzard will be back in action on Friday night. We have the big matchup, Blizzard versus Foothills, Friday evening at the West Soccer Dome. So those are 2 clubs that have a bit of a rivalry, and not only that, there's tons of defections back and forth, like going both ways this year. So there's going to be a lot of former Foothills players wearing Blizzard shirts and a lot of longtime Blizzard players putting on the green of Foothills.
Mm-hmm. And then we also will see Rangers travel north to play Edmonton Scottish in Edmonton. Scottish coming off that bruising defeat to Cavalry not that long ago. But that Friday night matchup between Blizzard and Foothills, that is going to be a treat, I think.
Hi, this is Ben Pepple, and you're listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast.
Okay, Scott, before we wrap up here, I dug up a couple bits of information about a couple of players that our listeners, I think, know quite well and how they've been doing in Europe.
Right. Former Cavalry stars Arabin Pepple and Dan Klomp. Pepple, who's former podcast guest, Calgary native, he finished the regular season with Chesterfield in League 2. They finished in 7th place, and that puts them in a promotion playoff against Walsall. But he had a pretty successful half season, you could call it, with Chesterfield. 5 goals in 20 appearances, averaged a goal every 231 minutes of play. And if you combine that with his first half of the season playing with Southend United, he scored 7 goals for them. He finished this season with 12 goals.
I think that after having a couple rough seasons where he just never really found a place on a team, he did well this year. So I think I think that was a real sign of progress for him this year, which I'm sure the last couple of years have been pretty frustrating, but I think he'll be happy with this year.
Yeah. And obviously, with Chesterfield finishing in 7th, they're definitely not the favorites to earn that last promotion spot, but it would be really cool if they do get through and make it to League One. And then we'd have, I think, the first former CPL player to be playing at that level in England. So I could be wrong about that, but that would be pretty neat to see. And then when it comes to the other player we want to mention, Dan Klomp's team in Belgium's 2nd division did get promoted. So if he stays with that club, he will become the first former Canadian Premier League player to play in the top division in Belgium.
Yeah, they had a pretty good year. Like even when he joined the club, they were already, I think, in promotion position. They were in 2nd place, and they ended up in 2nd place overall. And the top 2 teams in that 2nd division, they move up. So yeah, I think he had 2 substitute appearances while he was there, sort of at the tail end of their season. So they're moving up. I saw they're moving into a brand new stadium in the fall. So they're obviously a very ambitious club.
And this club, if anyone is wondering, is RAAL La Louvière. And yeah, as you mentioned, they finished second in Belgium's second division. Hopefully he'll stay, right? Sometimes we see clubs that get promoted use the money that they make as a result to reinvest in their squad, and you see some of the players who didn't contribute that much to the promotion push kind of sold or put out on loan. But it'd be really cool to see Daan Klomp playing in a top league like Belgium. A lot of former CPL guys have played in Belgium's second division, but I don't think anybody has made that step up to the top flight.
Thank you for listening to the YYC Soccer Podcast. You can have this podcast downloaded to your device as soon as it becomes available by subscribing to Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or other podcasting platforms. Check out our website at yycsoccer.com, where you can find our episode archive and find other options to listen, including our YouTube channel. We also have links there where you can buy Scott's book about Calgary soccer history. You can leave us a question or comment in the Contact Us section of our website, and you can interact with us on social media such as Twitter, Instagram, Blue Sky. Oh, hey, I signed up for Threads this week, Scott. I don't know if I'm going to do anything with it, but where our username is YYC Soccer 403. Thanks for listening.